Alright, so before we get to our last point, let's actually be a bit more clear what today's lesson was about, to which is discussing the concept of the three R's. Now you may be wondering, what are the three R's? Well, let's go over them. The first R is to reduce, as we demonstrated by no longer consuming digital waste. Our second R comprises to reuse, to which we demonstrated by light, as light can be used for any purpose because it's light. Lastly, our third R, which is the most important one, is to recycle. Repackage? Is to recycle.
An album repackage. What exactly is it? It's exactly how it sounds. It's a re-release of an existing album with 1 to 4 new songs in most cases. Because look at how Shiny practically did a mini album with their 5th album repackage. Basically, in other areas of mainstream music, these releases are typically referred to as deluxe editions. But what sets most album repackages apart, however, is they are treated as entirely new releases, due to the new album concepts included. Most repackages present a new concept that is either adjacent to the album's previous concept or deviates from it completely. Another point to bring up also is that new concepts practically do the heavy lifting in terms of engaging consumers into rebuying an album that they've previously gotten to pick up one or the other or get both for the fun of it. While most of the time it's studio albums that receive a repackage, there are some mini albums out there that also get the treatment. It's definitely an odd choice, as the definition between album and mini album gets skewed by the number of tracks included. But to get to the bottom of this, why exactly are repackages not as prominent as they were from the early 2010s and on? I feel it's more so because companies want to make more money with their big groups by releasing individual albums that don't carry over previous content. As with repackages, for someone that either casually collects or doesn't have too much to spend, they are more so often going to go for the repackaged album rather than the original, because of it containing more content. I feel this could potentially be the reason as to why you will see groups nowadays pumping out at least 2 mini albums a year rather than a full studio album than a repackage. But even then, groups that do a studio album previously or prior still followed up with a mini album. So does that mean it would have been possible for that mini album to have been a repackaged album? At the end of the day, I don't think consumers really care. As long as their favorite artist continues to put out new music is just enough for them, no matter what way it was released. However, the thing that most people don't really bat an eye on in terms of an album repackage is the duration of them. The epidemic of songs being under 3 minutes. Why is this becoming a phenomenon?
Charts.
Even though songs under 3 minutes has been a thing since forever, especially in things like TV show soundtracks for example, it's just been more apparent the last 5 or so years within the industry. My first experience with a song within K-pop that was under 3 minutes was Tasty's Ma Ma Ma.
No, it wasn't. In fact, it happened years earlier with SS501's Love Like This. From what I can recall back then, I thought it was kind of unusual, as it was a really fast-paced song, but I just kind of went along with it. Gee, how can I get something like that so wrong? Not gonna bother finishing that portion. Let's get to the portion next.
For my opinion, I don't mind it for the most part. Obviously for things like intro tracks or whatever, of course you would expect those to be under a minute and a half, unless it gets expanded to be an entire song like Big Bang Still Alive. But now when you look at a track list for a K-pop album and see that half of the tracks are under 3 minutes, you kind of do have to raise an eyebrow. But really, just as long as the song follows the typical structure. And for those that don't really know how a song is laid out, it's simply summarized as starting off with an intro, a verse, a pre-chorus, followed by the chorus, another verse, another chorus, a bridge, and then the final chorus. My only issue when it does follow the structure lies in the pacing, as it feels a bit panicked, as some songs don't really allow themselves to breathe and progress naturally. On the flip side though, you will get songs that are phenomenal from the start and have hooked you in, but then they just stop at the climax and it's like, what the heck? This also applies to some 3-minute songs too, because what do you mean you don't have a bridge? And for some 2-minute songs that don't have bridges, alright, I have to listen to another version with it. Thanks. Overall, while I do prefer songs to be 3 to 4 minutes maximum, I'm fine with listening to some 2-minute ones, as length really shouldn't determine the quality of a song.
So with that done and over with, I want to move on to the fascinating song production history within K-pop. We're out of time, aren't we? Oh. What is that? This note. It's telling me to die.